Hello and welcome to another Best Junglers episode, this one for patch 14.24, the last one of season 14. And in a year with strange and weird patch decisions and silly buffs and silly nerfs, we have one more patch to go down. Graves nerfs, Elise nerfs, Warwick quote-unquote adjustments. It's going to be absolutely wild. We're going to go over the best junglers overall, for low MMR, for high MMR, and of course if you want the best way to climb and reach your peak for the end of the season and apply these champions properly, you absolutely must head to Virkayu.gg for the end of Season 14 sale. Not only do I have a free jungle improvement resource, I also have a dedicated program with jungle video courses, jungle coaching classes, a jungle VOD library, special weekly content you'll see nowhere else. All of this available through a premium jungle Discord, which is highly active, a huge community that help each other climb using my jungle program and courses. As we have seen by everybody hitting their peak rank goals in Split 1 and Split 2 of Season 14 as fast as possible. So to climb faster than everybody you know and to jungle div every game you play, head to Virkayu.gg or click the link in the description below. Right on the S tier page is Warwick. I think we all knew this was coming. What happens is they lower the AD of the champion by 2 and you're thinking, oh my goodness, every auto, every spell, the whole clear, I'm losing 100 damage on a clear. Yes, but then they did something crazy. The Blood Hunt, that attack speed duration gets boosted from 0.75 as it has been to 2 seconds. However, the attack speed buff is also now granted on the attack or spell that puts the target below the HP threshold. Of course, this means you can now move on to the next one. So your clear speed is faster, but you can also auto attack, a minion at low HP and then go and trade. So basically you're looking at a very, very strong champion blown out of the water with this win rate. He needs to be hotfix nerfed. I hope they do it sooner rather than later, except that they overshot the numbers here, but don't undo it totally. Just remove the 2 seconds, make it like 1 second, 0.9 seconds if you want, and then give him 1 AD back. Try and find that sweet spot that allows him to be so strong and makes him feel better to play, but don't go so much that you regress and undo all the good work. So let's see if they go with that. Overall, the pick ban for most of your MMRs right now, not high MMR. You can counter it, you can play against it. In fact, most of you probably can in at least Emerald Plus. However, it's just about, do you want to deal with that auto fisting? Do you want to deal with your laners feeding him? When it's a 58% win champion, you cannot be too cautious. Also, just so you know, if you watch this after the hotfix or the nerfs that are coming, which they are coming, he will still be an SR tier champion for most MMRs to actually get your climb on for the end of the year, so don't forget that. Next up, we have Graves. People are like, oh no, they nerfed him. You know what's funny about the Graves thing that I think is hilariously delusional? In the patch notes, they wrote, was meaningfully nerfed with the Collector and Ghostblade nerfs. No, he wasn't. The fact that they think that shows a gross misunderstanding of jungle and Graves. Now that is to say, yes, there was a meaningful nerf to the percentage of his win rate, but it didn't really change the power of the champion. So you do have to understand that the percentages here don't always match the skill or power of a champion. And when Graves is at a 51.5% win rate, yeah, he's ridiculous. When you nerf that by 1% or 1.5%, it is technically meaningful, but Graves is still the best jungler. So they decided to nerf his bonus AD ratios on the max level of the Q. This did do a lot more than, of course, the 50 gold nerfs, imagine. But at the same time, he is still an S+ Giga champion for those that know how to jungle and understand Graves, and also those that are regularly hitting the Q2. What you have to understand is a lot of people who play Graves don't know the animation cancels, don't actually Q against walls to shorten the travel time, don't actually hit as many Q2s as most good Graves players. So those players will notice when that secondary comes through, okay, right, there's, 20% bonus AD nerf, I can feel that. However, that just means an extra auto attack here and there. If you're good at your E and sticking ability, if you're saving your Ghostblade for those moments, if you have a lead anyway, you're still gonna win because you're still Graves. However, it is a much better nerf than what someone thinks 50 gold might be on his core itemization. Next up, we have Virkayu, who has basically been the jungle poster boy of the year along with Kha'Zix. Always here, always eternal, despite the nerfs, the buffs, the item changes, the meta changes, the grub changes, everything that has happened. Kha'Zix and Virkayu have been here to witness it all. And who can blame him, right? Designed him to be as close to Lee Sin as possible in terms of peak jungle design and what people would want to actually play. Because when you're sucking, you still got the reset mechanics and the comeback ability. When you're snowballing, ain't no one gonna touch you. Virkayu does it all. Good itemization in terms of full-on glass cannon, also a little bit of crit off meta. You have the regular fighter builds. He has everything you could want to climb, to win, and there is no excuse for any Virkayu OTPs to not reach their peak. And if they don't, you say, well, my jungling needs improvement, and that's okay. That's what we work on. That's why we're here. So good luck to all of you. may you be blessed in this final push. Not by his wife, though. Kha'Zix was nerfed last patch, and everyone said, well, that's it for Kha'Zix. I said, no. They said, what do you mean? I'm like, no. We've seen Kha'Zix through basically all metas, and when Alex Ditch was playing it in Season 3, Season 4 mid lane, and Night Blue 3 was the first one to kind of promote it in the jungle at the end of 2013, we've basically had over a decade now of this champion surviving, thriving, and diving. It does represent the best way for you to play an assassin if you want to climb with that playstyle. In and out, great sequencing, slipperiness, and the ability to kill all ADCs and Sorakas in metas when we have ADCs and Sorakas. Kha'Zix is primed, yes, a little bit weaker. Yes, he's got some smaller gaps in his playstyle, but overall, still a strong champion, still something you can use to absolutely 1v9. Now, if you truly want to 1v9 with a little bit less stress, Warwick is banned now. Graves, you're like, Viego, Kha'Zix, bored, and you want to switch off your brain eternally and fling feces of righteousness, then Wukong is the way to go. And if you look at the gameplay channel, I covered one of these 1v9 games. Absolutely beautiful jungling, great aggressive decision making. Everything was measured and intelligent. And he went with the Trinity Force Omega Snowball build. The champion does all. The buffs to W were massive. He's got insane amounts of CC. He's got some camouflage, over the wallness, and a reset bonk on his Q. Everything you want to 1v9 at the end of Season 14. Lee Sin has all of these things as well, but he does require a bit more skill to pilot. Now, not as much skill as he used to. I think that's a lot of what people don't understand about this. They have simplified Lee Sin, and as people have gotten better, he's easier to play than ever, and so it's still a harder champion to play. It's still something you have to understand how to use a lot of jungle tempo with and push the map to end. However, it is a champion that a lot of people in Gold, Emerald, and Platinum can pick up, get used to relatively quickly, but I wouldn't suggest it for the end of Season 14. If you're ready to play him, go for it. If you don't play him, maybe wait until the start of the split so you don't compromise your climb. Better to go with something like the Wukong. Elise's win rate has now dipped drastically after the nerfs that she's had and the changes to the meta and such things, but I don't necessarily agree that she's weak. Remember, again, win rate is important to consider in terms of balance, but in terms of champion difficulty, design, and how a jungle player actually needs to apply the champion with their jungle knowledge, all of these things mesh together. So Elise is still absolutely goated. New skin coming out, gonna be really fun for a lot of you who enjoy that high pressure jungling nature and getting in people's face and ending. When you remove the armor from her, you're like, well, now she's squishier. Yeah, against AD threats, but at the same time, an Elise who plays properly isn't really gonna feel that, right? You're gonna use your human form properly, cocoon properly, gap close properly, repel properly, and they're probably dead. So maybe take a little bit more damage in your clear or in some of these trades, but it shouldn't compromise you unless your positioning or mechanics are not in tip-top shape. And then we have Kayn, good old Blue and Rust, running around with various builds. I was gonna say various, and then I wanted to say variant because, well, guess what? Blue and red are kind of variants. There are purple builds going around, Lethality Ross builds. We have the Cyclo Sword Tech as well, but you can also keep it simple with Ghost Blades and Edge of Nights and Axiom Arcs and Cerulda's Grudges. However, the most important thing for you to note is the following. Please focus on your 6, please focus on getting form as fast as possible, and if you are against some of these champions where you feel like, hey, the enemy team is big, thick, juicy, pick Rost. He's really, really strong at the moment. Sustain like a god, never die. And honestly, you can carry a lot of games this way. But if you're blue Kayn, feel free to just assassinate any squishes in your path. I don't see why anyone would think Kayn is weak right now. Champion's absolutely perfect for carrying, as he always has been and as he always will be. Skarner, on the other hand, as we head over to the A tier page, is not your prototypical 1v9 jungler. However, he can still do exactly that, because when he sees E'd you and hit you with all his damage output, you're like, whoa, 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 you're a tank? And that's still what he does, because he's got a lot of max HP on that Q, and even though they nerfed it by a percent, it's not enough. The champion is an unkillable demon monster later on in the game. Well, by that I mean like 2 items. At the same time, he just does too much damage for all the CC and the unkillableness that he has. Do you think he doesn't need another round of those nerfs? Because he's a pro play skew champion now, which means he thrives in high elo also. So when a champion like this is doing super well in solo queue for the general population, probably a little bit overtuned, but I don't necessarily think that's 100% true. Like if he doesn't get nerfs, I'm not going to complain about it. I don't think anybody really would care. But if he does, everyone will be like, yeah, I see that, I get it. So that's where he kind of sits. Unlike Nocturne sits on your ass, or on the ADC's ass, depending on how the game is going. Remember, the Hexblade regular tech with Sterak's and Black Clavers and Stride Breakers, this is still the juiciest way to go. I was going to say juiciest, and then I said juiciest. I'm just going to leave it in. It's the final best junglers. We'll roll with it. Remember, you can also go electrocute weird, one-shot tech. I made a builds video about that. But as always, I put that out there with caution. Please, only if you know what you're doing. Please, if they have no CC. And please, only when you have a big, big lead and know how to use it, because you will lose a lot of games otherwise. Much like Udyr, who's next on this list, and I'm not putting Udyr here for the Leandri's tank tech, no. If you watch the most recent video, I coach an Udyr OTP, he was a Viego OTP, swapped him over for the playstyle that he had, and he was doing the Leandri's tank technology, and I said, look, this doesn't suit you either. What if we go 80? I know it's strong, but I want to see it on you. He started to play it, and now he's rinsing everybody, and obviously I know it's strong anyway. Had a deeper dive, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm putting this on this list. 80 Udyr can build almost any 80 item you so choose, but the Q damage, the stun with it, it's just ridiculous what he can do to eviscerate people. You're also less forced to play teamfight gaming. You can afford to play much more aggressively like your Wukong and Lee Sin around your sequencing. Then you also have split push pressure and pick potential. Yes, your teamfighting suffers, but if you play properly, you're not really teamfighting anyway. Much like Diana, same kind of logic here. Her win rate goes up and down depending on the meta. She's very volatile that way with her win rate, but also players just go full on AP squish and die. Think about the Zhonya's, think about your engages. Don't go all in 1v5 and then die and be like, well, where's my team? No, you are the assassin with a lot of these builds, so do understand that. And then of course, whatever build you're going with the Lichbane, Nashus, Death Cab, Zhonya's, whatever it is, think about your split push potential, farm and play around your 6, get those leads, and again, when you do have the lead, very few champions in this meta can 1v1 you with the burst you have. Use it wisely. Much like Hecarim, who again has been really strong in my opinion for months and months, ever since that W buff, which wasn't really necessary because he was strong beforehand, but as we can see, it didn't make him broken as we thought, it just made him solid and strong and hidden OP and under the radar, and he still does everything you want to do. And if you're looking to climb reasonably quickly, why would you not use Hecarim at this point? It's not going to be banned. People are not going to respect it still. And you have so much sustain and disruption later on, you might as well just do it. And now I'm going to put Karthus again, or Karthus. Think he's again under the radar like the Hecarim. I could put a lot of different champions in with great data, great win rates, and great OTPs and things like this. But Karthus is just here vibing, man. You got all these other junglers getting in your face, a lot of skirmishing going on. Karthus still likes skirmishing. ICQ does a lot of damage. AP ratio nerfs on his ult do hurt. His level 6 ultimate never did anything anyway. You're looking to sequence, control, scale, and one shot. Nothing has changed in how you play him. Do it, and you will climb. And that brings us to Echo, where I feel, again, really great champion for these end of season climbs. He thrives in the chaos, has a 2.25 second stun, is a king of counter ganking, king of counter jungling. He's not an Astro Farmer, he's not an Astro Ganky, he's just a hybrid of absolutely everything. And then when you are fed, he is the character, the main jungler, the 1v9, takes over maps, champions, ADC souls, and the enemy's chat when they're flaming their jungler for not being as fed as you. Echo good. Much like Bel'Veth though, same kind of thing, except with Bel'Veth again, I'm gonna say it, focus on your 6, get those grubs early, get the true form, and then apply all the pressure you wanna do. Delay your Psychosis and your Arkham Asylum jungling just a little bit compared to what you're used to, please. I'm still seeing Bel'Veth think it's 2023 and 2022 where you can just level 1, level 2 coin for bin fade. That was nerfed. I mean, you can do it, but why? Because if you get 6 first, grubs first, true form first, you can basically do it for the next 12 minutes until they're forced to open. If they don't open, you get another 8 minutes before you hit the Nexus anyway. So focus grubs, focus Herald, focus true form, focus Lavender stacks, then play crazy, then win. And obviously as we go over to the low elo page, oh look, it's Warwick again. Who is surprised? Even after the hotfix nerfs that will come, and even after the other nerfs that will come, he will be great in low elo, so maybe he's not at the top anymore in a few weeks, but he's still on the list. Much like your Nocturnes and Amumus, they're just always gonna be good. I know it's not the sexiest stuff, I truly get it, but at the same time, get your jungling good with champions that do not require brain cells, and then when you get to gold, your jungling will be really good, and you can start to learn more complicated champions and apply it without worrying too much about your jungling. People try to learn complicated champions in low elo, and in turn their jungling suffers because they're focusing too much on champions, and they spend way too long in low elo when they could have just learned how to jungle with Nocturne and Amumu. Pay it forward, understand that you do need the freshman course before you go into the second year. Obviously the Briar, Diana, Lilia, Shyvana, Viego are great here. Those are my choices for you for the end of season. Again, these are specifically best junglers for end of season. Things change in the end of the season. People play more chaotic. People get desperate, and that's when you want things like Lilia and Diana and Shyvana with great sequencing backbones, huge 2-3 level leads. You can just destroy any mid to late game teamfights with your scaling. You control objectives. You be the consistency factor, remove the coin flip from your teammates' mental, and climb. And onto the high elo page, I don't necessarily think Warwick's at the top, but I do think he is obviously obscenely strong. I do think most high elo junglers will be able to actually handle it. I'm just putting it here statistically, as it were. The rest, however, are really unchanged from the last patch. You know, you got the Graves and Nidalee Viego, always going to be the trifecta of goodness. Lee Sin kind of floats in and out there, but he's there also. Skarner, Elise, and Hecarim. All of these champions perform super well. They're super consistent. They allow you to execute all the jungle meta perfectly. There are a lot of other champions you can be using. Your Rengar OTP, you're doing that. The Xin Shaos work as well. You got the Echoes, you got the Bel'Veths, you got the Rek'Sais we talked about, the Kindreds. High elo is really diverse in the last year or so. There are certain patches where some champions are just crazy outliers statistically, but really high elo settled into this boring rotation of the same champions, much like pro play. That's why we need more interesting drafts, I think, to test people's skills. But in solo queue, we don't have that, so people are just gonna play what they've always played at this particular stage. And this is what that kind of looks like. If there are outliers, I always will provide them to you. Like in this case, there's a Warwick, and obviously I will give a shout out to the Rek'Sai. Those are your best junglers for the end of season 2024. Make sure you climb thusly, climb hard, and if you need a bit more jungle advice to get you over the edge for your dream rank in the next few weeks, click the video on your screen now for the juice. New tech, gravitational tech.
Rost approves of this gravitational tech. In fact, I invented it, for I am Rost. Click the video. Watch it now. Click it.